Hi, I'm Max Lewendel. I'm the director of our production of Macbeth.
Hi, I'm Ronin. I'm the flight director for Icarus Theatre's Macbeth.
Hi, I'm Isabella and I am the costume designer.
I'm Stevie and I'm the lighting designer.
I was inspired by a lot of things on this version of Macbeth, but I think chiefly it's looking at post-traumatic stress disorder in a sympathetic way, but using a character that does some pretty evil actions at the same time. There's also a sense of Game of Thrones that we really used inspiration from in terms of getting a lot of violence and action and great acting driving through a really, really good attention to the words and the verse.
So the costumes were primarily inspired by birds. So each character has a bird that they are related to, which both in the way they move as actors and in the fabrics that are chosen, in sort of details on their collars, things like that, are all inspired by particular birds. So that is the primary inspiration. There's also some inspirations that tied in lighting and set design as well. So certain things like sort of shardy points and sharp angles were something that we were really interested in giving and creating an environment for the birds that are within it.
So Max, in his initial design brief, gave 3 words, and they were jagged, haunting and relentless. And I think jagged and relentless are things that I've latched onto, which, despite not generally sounding like lighty words, are something that I've clung to quite well.
Yeah, we've tried to make some distinctions mainly between the 2 different houses of Macduff and Macbeth. So we've got some working with spears predominantly as their house style. Macbeth's a little bit more brutal with axes, and the rest have kind of got a mixture of different swords. They're coping quite well. Spear work is very hard because it's quite an uncontrollable weapon compared to swords. But yeah, they're taking it quite well.
I think the way we're approaching it is extremely relevant. We've chosen to do a gender-balanced casting. A lot of companies have done gender-reversed or gender-neutral, but we've chosen to make a very specific comment with our gender casting to try and show a more feminist world than perhaps was the reality in 11th century Scotland. And in thus doing, make a comment on masculine and feminine leadership styles and show what the masculine leadership style has been doing to the world today, and perhaps provide some suggested alternatives to how we might run our countries in the future.
Yeah, we've got a lot of kit. So I think we've got 23 shields for a cast of 9 people. So there's a lot of changing characters that they have to do. So they're constantly working with lots of shields. We've got spears, axes, swords, knives, a couple of concealed weapons, a few other things that might be in there, surprises. But yeah, quite a big kit for such a small cast.
Well, one of the things I've been saying to the cast a lot is that this world is as similar to 11th century Scotland as Game of Thrones is to Middle England. So there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of resonance, there are even specific battles that we've looked at for reference points and specific costume choices that we worked at reference points that we're using. Obviously there really were characters called Macbeth and Duncan and Malcolm that follow the rough lineage that Shakespeare has written. But the characters their personalities and their leadership styles are quite different from the real history already. So in many ways, even though they share names and significant events in their lives, they're characters that may have existed in 11th century Scotland, but they're not the same people as the history.
We've taken period-based weapons, so we've set the weapons in the period that the play is set historically. So we've gone for kind of, there's an element of Viking shield wall stuff in there, and drawn a few elements. Some of it we've taken from myths, Celtic myths. So there's some Celtic myths about magical swords, magical spears, magical cauldron. So I've actually taken a lot of that influence and put that into the choices of weapons for certain characters and what we've done. So that will help there.
There are about 45 costumes, including doubles.
We've probably had maybe 4 solid days, I would say, if you put everything together. We've had about 4 days of fight rehearsals and training within that, but obviously spread over our rehearsal period.
Officially, I think there's about 145, but that doesn't include things like 0.1, 0.5, 0.7, 0.55, so maybe up to 170.
We are indeed, which means that there's a lot of hidden pockets in costumes and things like that. I think it's probably about 7 bloody costumes per show, but there can also be blood splattered on other characters as well, so there might be a few extra for that.
So one of the things we did which really helped us is from the very beginning we decided that all the actors that we were going to look at needed some stage combat training in advance. So we've got quite a few of the cast who are quite proficient already, which has allowed us to spend more time creatively working and giving them more of an input. So we've got quite long fights as a result. There's at least about 20 minutes worth of fighting in the show. So that's been made possible by the cast having those kind of basic skill sets before they start.
Oh, that's a really tough one. So I think I've probably got 2 favourites. One of them is Macbeth's cloak. It took a lot of work. It took some amazing leather work by an amazing person who made that, and also young Seward, who is one of the bloody costumes, so we had to make it twice, but he looks great. It's all a bit feathery and interesting and required loads of latex as well as fabric, which was exciting.
Come see the show. It's going to be an aggressive kinetic bloodfest, so I hope you enjoy.